If your tomatoes are dying and you cannot figure out why, I want you to stop blaming yourself. Stop blaming your watering. Stop blaming the heat. Stop blaming bad luck. Because there is a real, documented, and badly underexplained reason that healthy tomato plants suddenly curl, twist, cup their leaves, and collapse. And most gardeners never even hear the word for it. It is called herbicide drift, and its quieter, more devastating cousin, herbicide, carryover in compost, manure, and hay. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to spot it, how to test for it in your own backyard with a glass of water and a bean seed, and how to keep it from ever entering your garden again. And for the people who want the complete defense system, I have put together a full guide, the Drift Defense Garden Guide, and I will tell you exactly what is in it and what it costs near the end of this video. No hype, just the real protocol. But first, the thing nobody told you. Here's the part that catches almost everyone. You can do everything right. Good soil, good sun, consistent water, healthy transplants, and your tomatoes still come up with leaves that curl downward like a claw, stems that twist like a corkscrew, and new growth that comes in narrow, strappy, and deformed. And the moment that happens, almost every gardener assumes the same three things. They assume it is a disease, they assume it is a virus, or they assume they did something wrong, and so they spray fungicide that does nothing. They pull plants that were never sick, and they quietly decide they are bad at growing tomatoes. But here's the truth. Those symptoms, the cupping, the twisting, the fern-like distortion of new growth, are the classic signature of a class of weed killers that do not break down the way people assume they do. By the way, if you have ever had a tomato plant do exactly this, type the word drift in the comments right now. I want to see how many of you have been fighting an invisible enemy without a name. It will take you 3 seconds, and it genuinely helps other gardeners find this video. Anyway, let me show you the mechanism. Because once you understand it, you will never misdiagnose a tomato again. The weed killers we are talking about belong to a family of synthetic plant hormones. The most common names are aminopyrrolid, clopyrrolid, and picloram. You do not need to memorize them. You just need to understand what makes them different from something like glyphosate. Most weed killers break down in a matter of days or weeks. Sunlight, soil microbes, and water pull them apart fairly quickly. These hormone-type herbicides do not. They are specifically designed to be persistent. They can survive for months, in some conditions, for years. And here's the part that turns a farm chemical into a backyard tragedy. They survive composting. They survive the digestive system of a horse or a cow. They survive sitting in a bale of hay through an entire winter. So, picture the path. A farmer sprays a hay field to control broadleaf weeds. The hay is cut and baled. That hay is fed to horses. The horses pass it through, and the chemical is still active in the manure. Someone composts that manure for a year, thinking they are making the best soil amendment on earth. They sell it, or give it away, or spread it on their own beds. And then they plant tomatoes. And the tomatoes curl and twist and die, and nobody, anywhere in that chain, did anything obviously wrong. That is why this is so cruel. The most careful, most organic-minded gardeners are often the ones who get hit hardest, because they are the ones bringing in manure and compost and straw to build their soil. This is not a fringe theory. Agricultural research institutes and university extension services around the world have documented this exact pathway for years. In Europe, agencies that study soil and food safety have flagged these persistent herbicides specifically because of how long they linger. In the United States and the United Kingdom, extension offices publish warnings about contaminated manure and compost every single growing season. The information exists. It is just buried in technical bulletins that no normal gardener ever reads. So the average person planting 6 tomato plants in a raised bed never encounters it until their garden is already failing. Quick reminder before I show you the test, because this is the part that actually changes your season. If you suspect drift or carryover, the single most valuable thing you can own is a clear, step-by-step way to confirm it and reverse it, instead of guessing for another 2 years. That is exactly why I built the Drift Defense Garden Guide, and the link sits right at the top of the description and in the pinned comment. But you do not need to buy anything to run the first test. Let me give it to you right now for free. It is called the bioassay, and it is the closest thing gardening has to a lie detector for your soil. Here is how it works. Take the soil or the compost you're suspicious of, fill a few small pots with it, then fill a few more pots with soil you know is clean. A bag of basic potting mix from the store works perfectly as your control. Now plant fast-growing, highly sensitive seeds in both sets. Beans and peas are good. Tomatoes themselves are even better because they are extremely sensitive. 3 pots of the suspect soil, 3 pots of the clean soil. Water them the same, give them the same light. And wait. Within 1 to 3 weeks, the answer reveals itself. If the seedlings in your clean control soil grow up straight and normal, but the seedlings in the suspect soil come up with cupped, curled, twisted, fern-like leaves, you have your answer. That soil is contaminated. No lab required. It is simple, it is cheap, and it will save you from planting an entire season into poisoned ground. Now, what do you do if the test comes back positive? And this is where I have to be honest with you about the limits of a free video. There are 3 specific recovery protocols that actually matter once contamination is confirmed. I'm not going to read them out here, and I want to tell you exactly why. These 3 protocols are the difference between losing 1 season and losing 3. Done wrong, you can actually spread the contamination, or waste a full year waiting on soil that was never going to recover on its own. Done right, you can often shorten the recovery dramatically and salvage beds you thought were dead. The 3 are named in full in the pinned comment and inside the guide. They are the bind and lock soil protocol, the living drawdown method, and the clean bed quarantine system. Those exact 3. I'm keeping the step-by-step out of this video on purpose because, half explained, they do more harm than good, and because the people who put in the work to find the complete version are the ones who actually follow through and save their gardens. So let me tell you what the complete version is. Okay, I need to stop the lesson for a moment and be straight with you about what I built and why. After watching too many gardeners tear out healthy plants, blame themselves, and quit, I put everything I know about this problem into one place. It is called the Drift Defense Garden Guide. It is not a magic cure. There is no magic cure for a chemistry problem. It is a complete, honest field manual for diagnosing, confirming, and recovering from herbicide drift and carryover. Here is what is actually inside. First, the full diagnostic chapter. Every symptom pattern with the lookalikes that fool people, so you can tell drift apart from disease, nutrient problems, and ordinary transplant shock. Because misdiagnosis is what costs people whole seasons. Second, the complete bioassay protocol. The test I just gave you, but with the exact seed choices, timelines, and a reading guide, so you know precisely how to interpret what you see, including the borderline cases. Third, the 3 recovery protocols in full, bind and lock, living drawdown, and clean bed quarantine, with step-by-step instructions, timelines, and what to expect at each stage. Fourth, the sourcing chapter. How to question a manure, compost, hay, or straw supplier before you ever bring it home with the exact questions to ask so this never happens to you again. And fifth, lifetime updates, because the products and the regulations around them keep changing, and your copy stays current. The guide is $27. One time. Not a subscription. Not a monthly anything. And here is the part that matters most to me. It comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. If you read it, run the test, and it does not give you a clearer path than you had before. You write in, and you get your money back, and you keep the guide anyway. I would rather you keep it and tell a friend than feel cheated. The link is the first one in the description, and it is pinned in the comments. Okay, back to the video. Because there is one more thing you need to understand about prevention, and it is the part that keeps this from ever happening to you again. Let me put the price in honest perspective for a second, because I never want this to feel like pressure. A single failed tomato season is not just the cost of the plants. It is the seedlings, the soil amendments, the fertilizer, the water, and the months of your time and hope poured into beds that were never going to produce. For most home gardeners, that is well over $100 in an entire summer, gone. And the cruelest part of contamination is that, untreated, it does not politely end after one season. The same beds can fail again the next year and the year after that. The guide is $27 one time, with a 90-day guarantee where you keep it even if you refund. I'm not going to invent a fake countdown or tell you the price triples at midnight. It does not. I just think that if you are going to fight this, fighting it with the full map beats fighting it blind for another 2 summers. The link is at the top of the description and in the pinned comment whenever you are ready. Continuing. So how do you stop this before it ever reaches your plants? Prevention comes down to controlling what you bring into your garden. Be cautious with manure and compost from unknown sources, especially horse and cattle manure, and especially anything described vaguely as aged or composted without you knowing what the animals ate. Ask the supplier directly whether the hay or pasture was sprayed and with what. A supplier who knows their product will have an answer. A blank stare is itself an answer. And when in doubt, run the bioassay before you commit a whole bed to it. A 3-week test at the start of the season is nothing compared to losing the season itself. Healthy, clean soil grows tomatoes that stand up straight, with broad, flat leaves and steady, vigorous growth. When you see cupping, twisting, and that fern-like distortion instead, your plants are not weak, and you are not a bad gardener. They are telling you something entered the soil that should not have. Your job is simply to listen, confirm it, and respond. Before you close this video, picture the 2 versions of next summer. In the first one, you understand drift. You test suspicious soil before you trust it. You ask the right questions before you bring anything home. And when something looks wrong, You recognize it in days instead of months. Your beds are clean. Your tomatoes stand tall. You finally stop wondering what you're doing wrong because now you actually know. In the second one, nothing changes. Another spring, another tray of hopeful seedlings, another mysterious collapse in midsummer, and another year of quietly believing you just cannot grow tomatoes. While the real cause sits invisible in the soil, untested and unnamed. You now know which version is which. That alone puts you ahead of almost every gardener on your street. The full diagnostic and the 3 recovery protocols are in the guide. First link in the description and pinned in the comments. This knowledge does not belong to the chemical companies, and it does not belong to me. It belongs to every gardener who refused to believe the failure was their fault. Subscribe to this channel so the next person fighting this invisible problem can find the answer too.